with a little commentary on your trip and then you can see implication.
Because maybe
And then a little catch up because we haven't seen Tony in a while.
It's a while since I went away.
Yeah.
So first half of October, Stephen Herdenstein, who heads up Anchor Publishing,
translated.
and one of the translators of what we're going to be reading tonight. So he's been organising these trips to Andalusia, which is in the footsteps of Ibn Arabi. Because Ibn Arabi, in the first half of his life, he was born in Murcia, in south of Spain, and travelled all over southern Spain, meeting saints and extraordinary people and writing about them and so on. We know quite a lot about some of these people that he met and the places where he met them, and in a lot of cases, what the meanings or what the teachings were that they gave to him, and some of the exchanges they had. So I think this was like the fourth trip he's done over about a 7-year period or something like that. He doesn't go every single year. And so we started out in Murcia with a weekend symposium where we had speakers from England, from Spain, from Egypt, and Turkey, and some extraordinary music, and it was very good. It was a really nice way to start the trip, and Murcia is. Have you been there? It's nice. It's got some very nice things there. It's not the most beautiful of the cities that we visited, but it was a really nice way to get everything going. And we'd had these sort of big lunches with everybody there all together, because there were quite a few people who came just for that weekend who weren't going on the trip, and some good dear old friends who I haven't seen for a long time. And then we set out on the journey across Andalusia, going to Lorca, we went to Granada, which was absolute heaven. We stayed in the residencia of the University of Granada, which is kind of like the one in Berkeley, where we used to have the symposia,
The faculty club.
Faculty club, yeah. It's sort of like for visiting professors and stuff like that. And it looks like right onto the Alhambra. It's in the Albaicín. I mean, it's literally right outside your window. And we went to the Alhambra, which it's one of my favorite places on earth. And even though the place is absolutely packed full, you feel like this incredible stillness and stuff. And this whole time we went to Cordova, Ronda, and all these little villages up in the what they call the White Villages, up in the hills.
And this is in the footsteps of?
Yeah. So I mean, there were some great saints who lived up in those areas that he wrote about. Everywhere we went was a place where there was a connection to Ibn Arabi, but also extraordinary history of the Romans and the pre-Islamic Christians, and then the Islamic period, and then the post-Islamic period, and even to literally when we were in Seville, there's this place that we went to that used to be a mosque that literally had a church, had a Roman thing on top of that there was a Christian basilica, on top of that was a mosque, and on top of that was a Christian church, and literally, you know, you could see, you'd go out into the courtyard and you could see the arches had sunk down into the ground to where you could just see the top part of the arches, and there's this whole catacomb underneath and stuff that which was part of the old mosque and stuff. And it was everywhere. So everywhere we went around on the bus, and there would be stories from the Sufis of Andalusia would be read out, poems would be read out, music would be played, you know, and then just we'd have time to just sort of sit and chatter or sleep and stuff. It was, in some ways, it was kind of relentless because, you know, you get on the bus, you go. We travelled long distances. It wasn't like going on a journey where you get to kind of take your own time and wander about. It was quite tightly scheduled, but you know, we had these wonderful stops for lunch that were really priceless because we all got to be able to talk and sit down and be with each other. We had in Cordoba, we met this wonderful lady called Selma who...
Oh, you know Selma?
Yeah, you know Selma?
She's something else.
Yeah, and we had a zikr with her at her tea house, and she invited us all into her actual house, which is the upstairs part from the whole kind of... downstairs is kind of a museum, which is a kind of recreation of... I mean, it is an actual house from the early Islamic period. And I mean, it's one of the few houses that is really still intact and beautifully preserved. And then she had her own apartment upstairs, which we got invited into. And it was a very serendipitous thing. And then she invited us over zikr in the evening. And, you know, and then of course we had the mosque at Cordoba, which is another of the most special places on earth. And we stopped at this place for lunch up in the mountains, and as we came out of the restaurant there were about 20 eagles literally right above our head. It was just flying kind of, you know, maybe 20 feet above our head.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
It's just one of those things that I'll never forget, and I'll forever be grateful that I was able to go on it, and that despite the expense that we decided to do it anyway.
How long was it? Start to finish?
We left to go to Madrid on October the 1st. So basically everybody was meeting in Murcia, so we had to be... we met up with some of our friends in Madrid, took the train down to Murcia the next day, and we came back on the 16th. So it was just a little bit over 2 weeks.
That sounds like a lot to put it in 2 weeks.
Could have been 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But then who could afford it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk about doing a shorter version to allow more younger people who can't afford a big thing to come. But it was just a wonderful group of people. We just made such good friends, and people were there for a lot of different reasons. You know, there were people who'd been studying Ibn Arabi for as long as I had, and there were people who, from the abode in New York, and there were people from...
Oh, Charlotte Mason.
Yes, yes, she particularly asked to be remembered to you. And people from Colorado. I mean, they're mostly Americans. I mean, they're predominantly Americans. I guess they were about 2/3 American, I guess. I put together a whole web thing that tracked our journey and had some statistics of where everybody came from and what nationalities they were, and, division of male and female, and just for fun, and lots of little pictures around.
It's up on the internet, or it was?
Yeah, well, I posted it on the English Ibn Arabi Society website. Not website, Facebook page.
Oh.
So if you dig back into the Facebook archives for around October.
Take a look. Wow. We're glad you're back. Really glad you're back.
But it was such a wonderful kind of interior and exterior journey. And we had these evenings where Stephen would pose questions based on things from Ibn Arabi's Sufis of Andalusia. Like he had this conversation with one of the saints from who lived in Granada. And this was before the Alhambra was built. And he talked about the 4 types of men. And the men of the exterior, the men of the interior, the men of the battlements, and the men of... I forget exactly how it's phrased, but the ones that kind of go beyond. And so we were asked to contemplate that and think about what that was, and we would gather together and talk about that. And another time we had one about a saying of one of the saints that was slipped out of my mind now. I'll find it later, but it was another thing. It was somewhat to my tongue. It was a wonderful thing to contemplate. I'll find it later. And we also then, just outside Seville, there's this whole Roman town of Italica, which was the biggest Roman city outside of Rome, and it's all ruins there. But it's a place that Ibn Arabi talked about. There's a kind of little Colosseum arena thing where he would go. He went at a certain point for about 4 months or so, and just to be amongst the dead and contemplate that. I mean, it's one of these things he talked about, and so we all kind of went we all went to find an area to go and contemplate, and then just walked around this town. It's extraordinary, and some of the mosaics are still very carefully preserved. It was absolutely fascinating, the whole thing.
Yeah, I can feel it around you.
Well, what a beautiful trip.
Then there's all those things that you'll never have words to describe or speak about, moments in the breath. Moments in the breath. Yeah. I went to Murcia years ago with the intention simply of paying my respects to the Sheikh al-Akbar. I didn't know anybody. I knew he wasn't buried there. What am I going to do in Murcia? I just went. And it was because of Ibn al-Arabi impacting my life so much. I just had to go say thank you to the ground, to the earth, to the place. Yeah. And I've had the desire, the longing to go to Damascus, and God willing, Damascus will still be there for us.
Do you know if have you heard anything about his tomb? Is it okay, or have you had any reports?
My friend Christopher Ryan has spent quite a bit of time there recently. He's very concerned about it. I haven't seen his recent.
Yeah, because I've thought about that often when I see the bombings going on in Damascus.
Mm-hmm.
He's spent quite a bit of time there.
We can check. I mean, who to check with, you know? Well, doesn't Andrea Holbright? You know who I mean?
Yes.
Her husband's from Syria.
Oh.
Has family in Syria. Maybe we could ask her if she has any idea. Another friend of ours from the society. Well, let's change our breath, and in just a moment we'll take hands and say the invocation. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Amen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين I'll be listening tonight. If you have a copy, it's just my eyes are getting pretty fuzzy. Thank you.
I have one. Thank you.
I'm going to leave these with you.
Thank you. Secondary, you have?
I forgot to print it, so.
You're so up to date. We had trouble with that. Please for a glass of water. Please. Thank you.
Can I get anything from anyone else?
It's so completely unpredictable. I'll be fine, and the next thing I know, I can't hardly breathe from the allergies or something. It's changed. Thank you very much.
So this is it. Your first official Ibn Arabi
It is.
class. But,
It's my third one that I've been to,
Yeah, that's what I
but
thought.
the last two you weren't here. So it's my first
Oh,
official.
wow, that's
That's
right. That's right.
I think you weren't here for one of them too. I think you were.
right.
One of the classes, it was Sikander, Fatima and I think.
Yeah, that's it. One of them was.
That was the blind leading the blind that night.
We had a lovely
We had a
discussion.
very, we did, we had a great, it was very nice. And, right there.
I was just thinking that a lot of times when there's a new person, that Tony will help provide a context for why we are studying Ibn Arabi. And that would be good.
So you didn't provide that in the unofficial
Not in the same
study
no,
sessions?
not in the same way.
Would you like some context, or would you like to
Yeah,
plunge in?
Anything you would like to offer, I'm wide open to. I know a lot about Inayatiyya. I know a lot of his works. Rumi, I'm very familiar with. Ibn Arabi, I've read some things, but then went back and read it again and went, huh? So, yeah, it's
You're
definitely,
not the only person who's done that.
right, definitely an individual I'd like to know more about and dive deeper into.
He's somebody who is really unique. There was no school that came up around him in the sense of a tariqa or anything. There've been followers, people who have based their writings and so on Ibn Arabi. But he's called Sheikh al-Akbar, which is the greatest teacher. He called himself, and is continually considered to be the heir of Muhammad, in the sense that Muhammad, by virtue of his prophecy, had certain external requirements, and could not directly say everything that he knew. And Ibn Arabi was told by the Prophet to bring forth all those things from the interior that had remained kind of latent. So the whole of Ibn Arabi is based on the Quran. There's probably nothing that is not either directly an elucidation of the Quran or the sayings of the Prophet. And for him, the Quran is a living being. It's not just words in a book. He talks about his conversations with the Quran, and Ibn Arabi, I mean, his writings are a living thing because it comes from the most lively place in the universe, really. I mean, in that it's, it comes from the deepest source, the origin of life itself, so that it's continually revealing new things to each reader in different times and places, and it's not something that can be tied down to any particular single perspective or point of view. In fact, it's about the complete opposite of that, in that it shows how all perspectives and all points of view are necessary, are continually active, that there's and yet everything coming from a single source that expresses itself in innumerable ways and can be viewed from innumerable perspectives. And probably the heart of all that he writes is the hadith. It's from the hadith: I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known, so I created the world that I might be known.
This is critically important, what you just said, because there's absolutely no space whatsoever for dogmatism. Where do you hold on to it? Because it's continually revelatory. So then anyone who grabs it and says, this is what it means, my interpretation is the interpretation, this is what it means, they've lost it. It's gone. They don't have it.
And, I have many friends who are Buddhists, Native American, who follows Native American traditions, and so on, who hadn't come into contact with Ibn Arabi, say, now I understand what my thing is all about. Because it is the essence of, it's the heart of the matter. And it's, the clothing is Islam, but the truth of it is not confined to any one form or belief.
Thank you.
And this translation, this is the second chapter of the Fusus, al-Hikam. The Fusus al-Hikam means it's a play on words, but it basically means the bezels of wisdom, or the settings of the stones of wisdom, with the idea that the prophets are the different facets of the stone that is set in its seal on the ring of which the prophet is the seal, but each prophet is a facet of the divine wisdom. And each one reveals the wisdom according to different particularity. And so all the 28 prophets are mentioned in the Quran. There's one chapter for each of them in the Fusus. And this is the second chapter. We read Adam before. This is a translation done by 3 people, Stephen Hertenstein, Jane Clark and Cecilia Twinch, who all live in Oxford. I was talking to Stephen about this, and each one works on a different chapter. Occasionally they will get together, and if one of them says, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that, but mostly each one is doing their own stuff, which I thought was interesting, because I assumed they were working on it together. But I guess it's difficult to find enough time to get together collaboratively.
So this one was Stephen.
So,
the first one, Adam, was Stephen too, wasn't he?
I don't remember. At the time, I just assumed it was collaborative. So I'm going to read this first note, and then because this provides very good context for this chapter, and then we'll read the text.
May I ask you for just a moment? It's 8:42 in about 1 hour. Would I let you know that's a 9:45? Okay.
Yeah, so this will be a short study. Literally, the wisdom of breathing out softly. So this is each chapter is headed with the particular wisdom of that prophet, and this one is the wisdom of expiration and inspiration. Literally, the wisdom of breathing out softly, Inayatiyya. The root means not only breathing out over something, blowing or spitting or ejecting from the mouth, as in a snake ejecting venom, but also casting or putting into the heart. For example, the Prophet Muhammad said that the Holy Spirit cast or inspired, nafatha, into my heart, that no soul will die without it receiving its full allotment of provision. The chapter title thus suggests both what is cast by the divine into the human heart, i.e. gift, and what emerges from the human mouth, i.e. request. This chapter, second in the Fusus, corresponds in the world of letters to the Ha, and in the realm of cosmological descent to the preserved tablet and the universal soul. Ibn Arabi also describes this degree as the spirit which is breathed out, manfuk, from him into the forms, which are arranged and shaped after being perfectly wrought in symmetry, and relates it to the divine name Ha'ith, the one who sends out a messenger to a people and raises from the dead. In this meaning, the chapter can be called the wisdom. In this meaning, the chapter can be called the wisdom of expiration, in which the breath of the all-compassionate effuses existence over the essential realities, which are receptacles for it and become manifest as forms. Gifts and requests. Know that there are two kinds of gifts and favours which manifest in the world at the hands of the servants, or by other means. Some of them are gifts of the essence, and some are gifts of the names, and these are distinguished by people of taste. Likewise, some of them are given due to a request for something specific, and some come from a request which is non-specific, while some are given without any request being made, whether they be gifts of the essence or the names. A specific request is like when someone asks, "O Lord, give me such and such," specifying something without thinking of anything else. And a non-specific request is like when someone asks, "O Lord, give me what you know is good for me," without being specific, for every part of my being, be it subtle or dense. The cause of request and the giving of gifts. Those who ask are also of two kinds. One is prompted to ask out of natural impatience, for humankind is created hasty, while the other is impelled to ask because he knows that there are certain affairs with God where it is already known that they cannot be obtained except after a request. And he says, "Perhaps what we ask of him, glory to him, is of this kind." So his request is a precautionary measure in case this is a possibility. He does not know what is in God's knowledge, nor does he know what is bestowed by his own aptitude for receiving, istida. For it is one of the most abstruse sciences to comprehend at every single moment an individual's aptitude at that moment. If his aptitude had not inclined him to ask, he would not have asked. The highest degree of knowledge of the people of presence, who are not knowing in this manner, is that they know it at the very moment they are in. For by their presence with God, they know what the real gives them at that moment, and the fact that they do not receive it except through aptitude. They again are of two kinds. One kind knows their aptitude from what they receive, and another kind knows what they receive from their aptitude. The latter are the more complete in what there can be of knowledge of aptitude in this group. Among this kind, there are those who ask neither out of impatience, nor because it is a possibility that they will receive. Rather, they ask in compliance with God's order, "Call on me, and I shall answer you." And this is the pure servant. For this requester, there is no spiritual aspiration attached to what he requests, be it specific or non-specific. Rather, his spiritual will is entirely in compliance and accord with the orders of his master. When his state requires request, he asks for servanthood, and when it requires handing over to God and silence, he falls silent. Thus Job and others were afflicted with trial, but they did not request that God remove what he had afflicted them with. Only at another time did the state require them to ask for the affliction to be lifted, and then God removed it from them. The accelerating or delaying of receiving what is asked for depends upon the measure appointed for it with God. If a request is made at just the right moment for it, the response is swift. But if its time is not yet due, either in this world or until the next, the response is delayed accordingly. That is to say, the receiving of what has been requested, not the immediate response from God, which is, I am here for you. So understand this. As for the second type of gift, regarding which we said some are given without any request being made, I mean a request which is articulated, for in actuality there must always be a request, whether it is expressed in words or through state or aptitude. Likewise, unconditional, unconditioned, undefined praise, hamd mutlaq, is not true except in words. In terms of inner meaning, it must be conditioned by one's inner state. How? That which prompts you to praise God, Allah, is that which is conditioned for you by a divine name, denoting his action or his transcendence. For the aptitude to receive is not something the servant is directly aware of, but he can be aware of the state, for he knows what induces him to act, which is the state he is in. The aptitude is a more hidden requesting. Let's pause there and reflect and discuss.
Well, one thing is that, to me, this is talking about the revelation that in every moment the universe is in a new configuration. That's he's relating that's what can be received.
Yeah, and I think it's worth considering that because this chapter follows on after Adam, and Adam is about the fusion from the point of view of the One in the creation of the world, and the realizing or the bringing about of the aptitude of the created things. This is the kind of complementary view to that. So this is that same process seen from the viewpoint of the creation.
Recipient.
The recipients, yes, that's better.
Would you say that under the cause of request and the giving of gifts, where the one is prompted to ask out of this natural impatience, this kind of almost reflexive. The idea of a need, or the sense of a lack, calling forth that almost knee-jerk response. I'm hungry, give me food, like that would be the first kind. Then the second one says, affairs with God, where He's already known that they cannot be obtained except after a request. Then I don't quite have the second kind of request. Is it a non-stated request then?
No, I think the first kind is we're sort of compelled to ask for things because that's our nature. We if we weren't impatient, there would be no movement. We wouldn't strive for anything. I mean, that covers the good and the bad, and there's but we're compelled to ask for what we need, and the second kind is I think refers to those who have knowledge. Their knowledge is not specific in the sense that they don't necessarily know what they should be asking for at this particular time, but they know that there are things that can only come about by asking for them. And they ask because they say, maybe what I'm asking for is one of these kinds of things, where it can only come because it has to be asked for in order for it to come about.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of an example, but
Their prayers are like
prayers are like that, yes, exactly.
The first part there under gifts and requests at the very end there, oh Lord, give me what you know is good for me without being specific. That really, as soon as you read that, it made me think of what you said the other day after the service about the man that prayed for $5,000 over and over again, and then, eventually God gives him the $5,000. He says, oh, thank you. He says, well, that's great, but, you asked for $5,000, I would have gave you more. And that, I think that really spoke to me the same message, and really makes me think of the fact that, open up to the idea that, or the realization really that we don't know how far God's gifts can reach. We have no idea what they might encompass or be, and what we're already receiving that we're just not open to. So
I think Oprah did this thing once. She sort of asked people in the audience, ask for whatever you want, and some woman said, I want tickets to see Beyonce or something.
That's what you want.
And the next person said, I want to go around the world. I want,
Right.
And the first one said, I didn't know you could ask for that.
Yeah.
I said ask for it, whatever you want. I mean, and it's just the sense that we keep ourselves very small by limiting the bounty that's giving.
It's like when we say in the prayer, lead me on the path that your wisdom chooses. We know that God's wisdom is there, but we know that we want to be led on the correct path, so we ask but we don't know what the path is, and we don't know what's going to come, and we don't know what it's going to be, but we say, God, please lead us on the path of your own wisdom, or give us your own goodness, things that draw us closer to thee, that kind of thing. Become, let me draw closer. It's for things that we don't know. It's like we're asking for the unknown, but we know that. We know from the implications and from our own interior that is a working way that God works. And so we just say, please lead me, please guide me. I don't know. That seems like to be the second. Because when you're asking for something specific, you say, please heal my sister from cancer or something. Or, but the other kind is where you're saying, I know that I want to be closer. I know that you want me to be closer, so show me how to do that. That's something different. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean,
You could almost insert in there the difference between my will and thy will. It's like, I know what I want. I want that car. I want the I. It's the I that precedes.
well, I mean, but there's also the thing about heal my sister and so on.
My sister doesn't have cancer.
No, I get it.
I made that up.
I get it.
God forbid.
There is a real distinction between asking for something for someone one loves and something that you feel is good for that person, and saying, praying to God to do what He knows is the right thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
I usually, whenever I pray, a lot of times, I usually find it hard to ask for things because I'm always of that mind to say, whatever your will is, it's going to be the best of all possible conclusions,
But I think from what he's saying here, that he's saying that's not the only approach here, because we're talking about knowledge here, and there are a lot of subtleties. I don't think it's the perfect antidote to people who rave on about the secret and the laws of attraction and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So any thoughts about this thing of the aptitude?
Aptitude, exactly.
There's the sense that different divine qualities are dominant in different people, and so that's related to how what aptitude they have, is their connection to particular divine quality.
That's the capacity, like where it says some people know what they ask, some people know what they receive because of their capacity because of what they receive, and some people know what they receive because of their capacity or their aptitude. So I don't know if aptitude and capacity is the same.
It's
kind of like
pretty close.
Yeah, and then So the person who knows their aptitude, or their capacity, is the person who knows themselves better than those who just know themselves from what they receive. So that's why he says the second group is more, the latter, the more complete in what there can be of knowledge of aptitude is in this group.
Would it be kind of akin to aptitude kind of be synonymous with consciousness in the sense of being consciously aware?
Here he talks in the note, and he quotes Chittick as saying it's the preparedness to receive. And I think, well, consciousness is definitely a prerequisite. I think it's something a bit more specific, because the aptitude of each person is quite distinct. And in Adam, when he talks about the blowing of the breath into Adam, who represents the whole of humanity, it talks about that as being the realization of the aptitude, of the aptitude that he was already predisposed for. It's not, so the point that he was making there is that it's not that God creates a person and gives that person the aptitude. His blowing of the breath, which is enlivening that receptacle, if you like, is because of the aptitude that the thing already possessed, because there's actually no distinction between the two. It's not a cause and effect thing, or a I'm here, you're there kind of thing. And so here, if we're looking at it from the other side, this aptitude is not a thing that happens at one point of time. Obviously, this is a continual unfoldment. From the point of view of the one, it's this continuous effusion, the most holy effusion, and from our point of view, or the point of view of the recipients, it's the recognition at each moment of what is being revealed to you, and of how your being is unfolding according to your own preparedness to receive, your own capacity to receive. And the one who received the tickets to Beyonce, that was according to their capacity at that time, at that moment. And I think he's referring here, to that. I mean, the thing of being absolutely aware at each moment of what is coming to you, and how that is the in complete accord with your own capacity is obviously a very difficult thing.
Question then, where it says it of the moment, right? They know what the Guru gives them at that moment. At that moment. So, but that's what I wanted to ask about is when Hazrat Gabriel appears to, peace be upon him, to Mary, God be pleased with her, and she contracts, right? She's scared. She withdraws, and once he says, be at ease, be at peace, then he can give the gift. Because, and it says in that chapter, if he had given her the gift at the wrong moment, we would have had a different Jesus. Peace be upon him. Right, so it wasn't just her aptitude, which she carried, but it also had to do with the condition of that aptitude in the moment. So we may have the capacity or the aptitude for something, but we're in the wrong frame of mind, or somehow would limit the bounty that we could otherwise have received, God willing. And then I think for myself, when I'm, to use your word, conscious, when I'm unconscious or less conscious, or really my own mental workings and emotional stuff is the veil that keeps me from seeing more. All I can see is that small world, and so it's being offered, but because of my condition, I might even dismiss it, even though I have the capacity. But in that moment, so it had to go to someone else. If that gift had to be given right now, and you have the capacity, but you're ready, right? And you're going, then it'll go to where the container can hold it. Something like that.
Yeah, I think the capacity is so tied to what actually happens.
Right.
I mean, we all have the capacity in potential to be the perfect being. But what is actually realized is what we've asked for. And what we ask for is due to what we know of our reality, our true reality, and so the fact that we all have the capacity, and we know that given the right conditions and everything, we would make the perfect choice and decision that we time and time again.
Does capacity evolve?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, it's continual unfolding, but it's entirely tied to your state of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. So would you find it a correlation, hopefully not too far off the mark here, the Gurdjieff used to make about the level of your being attracts your life?
Yeah.
That sounds right. I mean, which is not to say that there aren't gifts that come without you, regardless of your state of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there are things that come to nudge you towards knowledge, which you can choose to accept or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, but he's not just talking about people who are struggling towards a state of knowledge, because I mean he's also talking about the reality for the people who know. And the different sort of subtle distinctions to do with asking of people who are already have a knowledge of themselves and of God, because there are levels and levels of subtlety within amongst the knowers.
But where it says here, like in this footnote, it says self-disclosure is determined by its preparedness to receive it, and in turn is determined by a thing's own reality. We got that. Receptivity must be taken into account not only on a cognitive level, but also on an existential level. Each received being's self-disclosures in the measure of its own capacity. Well, receptivity on account not only on a cognitive level, but also on an existential level. That means that's not only a cognitive thing, but it's also has to do with the entire reality of a person, time, place, experience, reality. I mean, every given second. I mean, it's almost like, you know, sometimes you're lined up, and sometimes it's lined up to where the light can flow through, and sometimes it's not lined up right, and the light won't flow through. So it's just, you know, each individual reality is what determines how much we receive, and that, you know, is determined by our receptivity and also by our existential, which means, you know, right time, right place, right time, right action, right thought, right. It's like that thing Hazrat Inayatiyya Khan says that we've been studying about life is music, and everything. If when the music is, you know, when everything is together and everything is harmonizing, the music is there, you know. But when something's out of tune, or there's, you know, there's something missing, or, you know, who knows what, you know, it could be, you know, there's a billion different things that could make that music not be perfect at that time, you know. And then when it is, you know it, and it's like, wow, everything just came into you know, that moment to make it that special revelation. So preparedness. So does our preparedness determine our requests? I mean, so like, to as much as we're prepared for is what our requests. No, that's not right. We're trying to take it on. Yes.
Your aptitude is a determination of the one, right? Because it's a one in itself, in its essence, is completely undetermined. Right? There's nothing fixed about it. So each manifestation or revelation from it is a determination of the one in a specific form, even though the form is not fixed, but it is a determination of it. But from another perspective, the one is determined by the needs of the thing that is being determined. So by this sort of reversal, it's, you know, the recipient is determining upon the giver, and in the same way they talk about knowledge is determined by the known, as being one of the big keys to understanding, you know, who we are. And so in that sense, you're right that, you know, your request determines upon the one you're requesting from. I mean, which isn't to say that, as he explains, that by making a request, it's going to automatically, that particular request is going to be fulfilled. At the very least, you'll get the response of, I'm here for you.
Because it
Is
seems to
that
me
the specific? Is that the specific request?
No, it's just saying that's true of any request. I mean, it just in terms of in relation to when the request is fulfilled. I mean, if it's in the nature of things to be fulfilled, it will be fulfilled either immediately or at some other time. If it's not in the nature of things to be fulfilled, will never be.
Well, that's a good point.
But it's I mean I think the thing he's sort of getting towards is that it's to make it completely clear that there are not two separate things here in terms of the receiver, the giver and the receiver. This is a process of bringing you to understand that you are both limited and not limited, and kind of scramble your brain into stop not fixing it at a certain perspective or a certain point of view, but being aware of the total interrelatedness or interdependence of these two sides.
You brought up about the receptiveness, or receptivity being a cognitive thing and on an existential level, and as you were talking about that, kind of that being your kind of the whole body of our existence. So that kind of raises a question in my mind: how do you make your entire existence more receptive? And is that where, like, I'm receptive now and open to all this, but I wasn't when I was a teenager, and I was totally stuck in this, hard Christian mindset that I was in. And are there still things from that part of my existence that could still block my receptivity to what it could be now? And maybe that's overthinking it a little. But when you said that, it made me think of, wow, our entire existence has to be, our whole time of existence, in I guess this form, has to be receptive. And that's an interesting thought.
It's kind of interesting in relation to what you were saying about Mary, because all of these things are about our inner reality. So, in order to realize the Christ in you, or the perfect being in you, you must first come to the state that Mary. You must first become Mary and become that receptive person to receive this effusion. And our path to that is through increasing our knowledge of who we are, what our reality is, and so on, and through that growing in love of what it is that we wish to know. And so all of the, without getting into a kind of psychological thing of it, all of those steps along the way, the ones where we were completely blinkered and the ones where we think we're less blinkered, are all part of that journey, and we just move forward as best we know how, and we gather in groups, with other people trying to do the same thing, so we can help each other a little bit, and then. But I think these, along with that, is this continual praying to be increased in knowledge, as the prophet prayed for, to be led on the straight way, and and all of these things to kind of increase your relation, to forge a closer relationship with that which you're seeking for, and we do all of that, and then the gifts that come, they have absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. I mean, it's never a cause and effect thing, and one of the things he's saying here is, you pray for something, or you ask for something, and it may come now, or it may come a little bit later, and it may have the appearance of a cause and effect type of thing, but that's not it, because the whole thing is about what is in the nature of the moment to be revealed.
It's like excuse me.
And it's your the person who has the capacity at that moment to receive the thing is the one who will receive it, and it's not necessarily to do with merit or anything. I mean, you take somebody like Bob Dylan in at that time in the 60s, when he was just the person to receive this particular thing that had this impact for so many people, or you talk about Martin Luther King, or people who at the right moment are in the right state of preparedness to receive what needs to come through. It's, neither of those people or any of these great could predict or know why it was that this came about, and these things may not be known for decades, centuries, because these are all, we're just very small people in a very big thing, in terms of the exterior. And I think part of the thing, one of the things he's talking about here, is the recognition when the thing comes of what it is and what it implies to you, and always try and stay in that state of servanthood and not attribute to yourself any kind of merit for having received whatever it is that you receive.
Yeah. And sometimes, like with the Inayatiyya too, when I'm reading it, it also helps because experiences that we have that are in other words, it kind of explains certain experiences, states, so to speak. It gives an it talks about it. So then you go like, oh, I think I know what that is. I think I remember how that went or something. And so it not only has that part of it, but it also has the part of explaining things that you've already experienced that you don't understand. For me, I don't understand some of the things I experienced, but then when I read Ibn Arabi talking about it, somehow it casts a light on it, and I say it makes it. It just explains it, whereas I wouldn't be able to put it in words, and yet when I read it in Ibn Arabi, I recognize it. So it's like that too. So it's not only just to be something that's for people to know that it's something that can be attained, but it's also for explaining things that happen to us that we don't understand. I think for me that happens anyway. And that was just I don't know why I was saying why that came up, except for the fact that it's kind of like the other side of it or something. It's a different it's a reciprocal perspective.
think when in doubt, you go with this fourth paragraph.
Among the kind? Is that the page you're on?
Knowledge of destiny.
Among this kind, there are those who ask neither out of patience nor because it is a possibility that they will receive. Rather, they ask in compliance with God's order, call on me and I shall answer you. And this is the pure servant. For this request that there is no spiritual aspiration attached to what he requests, be it specific or non-specific. Rather, his spiritual will is entirely in compliance and accord with the orders of his master. When his state requires request, he asks for servanthood, and when it requires handing over to God in silence, he falls silent, etc. Interesting note about the unconditioned praise at the top of. These don't have page numbers.
No.
But the last paragraph we read. So saying note 9. Which is interesting, that which prompts you to praise God, Allah, is that which is conditioned for you by a divine name, denoting his action or his transcendence. He says, for example, to say after eating, praise be to God, alhamdulillah, means praising God not absolutely, but from the presence of a name of action, the one who gives nourishment. Regarding the name Allah, Ibn Arabi writes, this name brings together the realities of all the divine names, so it is impossible for it to be said in an unconditional sense. States must condition it. If words condition it, that follows from the states. Whenever something is attributed to Allah, look to see which name is worthy of that attribution. I mean, and that again is very much aligned with the aptitude, because the aptitude, which is at any given moment is tied to a particular divine name. As the realization of one of the possibilities.
So is it kind of saying not only recognize the hand of God and everything, but the quality in that
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, if the saying, wheresoever you turn, there is the face of God, could tie into what you just said, then both things are true, right? So wherever you turn is the face of God, and then where you're looking, there's a specific face.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, there's always those two things going on.
Or the kind of like the encapsulating phrase is that which is transpiring through that which appears. You know, like two things wedded. One is apparent and one is hidden, but the one who knows the hidden.
You're talking about the more hidden requesting?
No, I think I was referring to what I'll define for the moment as a state of the Gnostic, of the Arif, that they are not deceived, if that's the correct word, but by the apparent or by the form. They perceive the form, they acknowledge the form, and if it's a specific face, for instance, it's that face, and at the same time does not lose sight of the allness because of the specificity of the self-revelation in that instant. In other words, like the people who mistake the messenger for the message. I don't know if that's a good analogy. What is transpiring through the apparent form is attributed to the form and not to the all.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that any of us who stop at any messenger, at any servant of God, we've limited the self-disclosure of God.
Shall we read on a little bit?
Have 5 minutes.
Yep.
5 minutes? Okay. We won't read on it, but we can...
9:39. You have.
What time do you think you're stopping? 10 till? In order to do the invocation and stuff?
Where you want to stop.
Okay. Well, we'll read this, and we may not have much time to discuss it. We can discuss it next time. Knowledge of destiny. What prevents such people from asking is only that they know that God has eternal... that they know... What prevents such people from asking is only that they know that God has eternally decreed for them. Thus they have made ready their place to receive whatever He wishes, and they have stayed away from their own selves and their personal inclinations. Amongst these there is one who knows that God's knowledge of him in all his states is how he was in the state of establishment of his essential reality, Ein, prior to his physical existence. He knows that God gives him nothing except that knowledge of him which his own essence bestows, and that is how he was in the state of his establishment, until he knows from where God's knowledge of him comes. There is no category of the people of God that is more elevated and knowing through unveiling than this, for these people comprehend the mystery of destiny, Sir al-Qadar. They are of two kinds: those who know this mystery in a general way, and those who know it in detail. And the one who knows it in detail is more elevated and complete than the one who only knows generally. For he knows what is in God's knowledge concerning him, either by God himself informing him what knowledge of him is bestowed by his essence, or by there being revealed to him his own established essential reality, al-Ain al-Thabita, and the endless succession of states that flow over it. And this is higher, for in his knowledge of himself, he is in the same place as God's knowledge of him, since the taking of knowledge is from a single source. However, from the side of the servant, it is a special providential favor from God which is predestined to him, arising from the sum of the states of his essence, which the possessor of the unveiling recognizes when God discloses it to him, whatever the states of his essence may be. For it is not within the power of a creature, when God discloses the states of his established essence, according to which the form of existence occurs, that in this state he should have revealed to him the disclosing of the real to these established essences in the state of their non-existence, for they are essential relations without form. According to this, we may say that it is a divine providential blessing, Inayatiyya, which is destined to the servant through that parity in the imparting of knowledge. Thus God the Exalted says, "We shall try you until we know," which is an expression precisely establishing the true spiritual meaning, unlike what is supposed by those who are not of this way. The furthest that the transcendentalist can reach is to say that this apparent temporality in divine knowledge is due to dependence of God upon the creature. This is the most that the theologian can maintain through his intellect on this question. If only he had not affirmed knowledge as additional to the essence and ascribed dependence for it, not for the essence. By that he distinguishes himself from the true verifier among the people of God, one who possesses real insight and experience.
focuses on the divine providential blessing Inayatiyya. And it's like, this is the root of Inayat.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like better than the translation I read before of kindness. It's, it's more like the effusion flowing through.
Yeah. Kareem. Kareem.
There's some good notes at the bottom here if you haven't already read them. Something of the destiny. Such a hard thing to wrap your mind around because it's so hard for us to step outside of time.
Exactly.
And you know, because you think, well, is this thing fixed?
Predetermined. Cast.
You can't, you just can't unravel it from within time.
sometimes, from just for myself, to try and grasp something, I change the gender, like in on that same page of that last paragraph. They are of two kinds, those who know this mystery in a general way and those who know it in detail. No, that's not what I was reading. It has to do with the ones who know.
Right above that.
Hmm?
Right above where you were.
Maybe. Yes, thank you, yes. So what prevents such people, and those are the pure servants, so what prevents the pure servants from asking is only that they know that God has eternally decreed for them. Thus they have made ready their place to receive whatever Allah wishes, and they have stayed away from their own selves and their personal inclinations. So, an hour ago when I said such and such a person might say, I want a car, that specific, and they would be asking from that very personal place. But we're talking about those who are the perfect servants. Right? So they don't ask like that. So amongst these, there is one who knows that God's knowledge of her in all her states is how she was in the state of establishment of her essential reality. Prior to her physical existence. So she knows that God gives her nothing except that knowledge of God which her own essence bestows, because of that instant of kun. And that is how she was, and that is how she was in the state of her establishment. And so she knows from where God's knowledge of her comes. There's no category of the people of God that is more elevated and knowing through unveiling than this. For these people comprehend the mystery of destiny. When we talk about the ayin al-tabata, that's that state. Is it not?
Yes, I mean, in the sense that we're talking about the ayin of the servant, the essence, with all of its possibilities.
So, in another chapter, we talked about the predetermination of a thing. So, in that sense, she knows that God gives her nothing except that knowledge of God, which her own essence bestows.
You can't know God through anything other than who you are.
Yeah.
I can't know God the way you know God.
Exactly.
So it's like having each a particular note
Yeah,
musical note.
yeah.
That is a way I can grasp the predestined better. It's like, okay, I have a note. That's my essential note. It's not so much about the particular details of what's going to happen, but it's like it's sounding that note that's predestined, because that's my establishment.
Alhamdulillah.
And you can sing that note, play it on the piano,
Right.
you can play it on the guitar, the violin.
You can build a house with it. What was happening, when you're saying that, is like, because that's one of Murshid Sam's main teachings, he was like, find your note, perfect your note, sing your note. Right? He said, so I went into the forest solitude and I sang my note, right? And from that, everything came from that. I went into the forest solitude and sought my note. So it comes also to mind, to whoso knoweth himself knoweth his Lord. Your personal Lord, like your personal Lord, your personal Lord. You know, it's got nothing to do with anybody else's Lord or what people call Lord. It's like that. I'm rambling.
One of the wonderful things about the Alhambra, of course, is all the tile work and everything, and you know, you got these vast walls of these tiles and so on, and you know, when you look at it, that you see these extraordinary sort of star shapes and so on, these beautiful patterns, and you trace the individual lines that make up these things. They just go up, they're completely random, you know, they just go off, or, you know, there's one thing just kind of goes wandering off like that, and another one's coming through, you know, and where they all come together, you know, makes this absolutely glorious. And so, I mean, it's like each individual's path is completely interrelated with all the other paths, and yet it's, you know, it's a unique path.
And isn't that also, isn't that related to that thing of Ibn Arabi's where he always, well, like here, Ibn Arabi says, well, he in a state of concentration and contemplation, that was perfect. God showed him all of his future states, both internal and external, right through the end of his days. So, in other words, but here in this paragraph says, however, from the side of the servant, providential favor from God, which is predestined to be arising from the sum of the states of his essence, which is the possessor of this unveiling, recognizes, not that, I mean, this is a possessor of an unveiling, you know, this is not something I've experienced. Discloses him whatever the states of this essence may be, for it is not within the power of a creature when God discloses the states of established essence, according to which the form of existence occurs. So, whatever the state of your essence is the way that the form of existence will occur, and the states are revealed in a state where they're in non-existence. So it's what reminds me of this Ibn Arabi's things that says at any given moment it's a perfect world. In other words, God fuses out a perfect existence in the most perfect possible thing that could be happening is what's happening. So if we have a particular essence and he's talking about somebody who knows their essence, and that their knowledge of themselves is the same as God's knowledge of themselves when he said kun. Obviously, if that person then knows that his essence and knows what that essence implies even the non-existence, then the person would know their destiny, and it would be a destiny which would be unveiled to a person, to Ibn Arabi. He may have been the only one, you know, I mean, I'm sure there were others, but because once you know what the possibilities are, then you know what the existence is going to be, because the existence is going to be the ultimate best possible fulfilling of those possibilities. So at any given time, the universe is perfect at any given moment. And it's not a predestiny, it's just a perfection. And if you knew what the essence was, you would know what its perfection is. So if you knew what your essence, what my essence, or an individual knew their essence, they would have an indication of what their perfection was going to be like, and how this you know, the states would be received by their, by them. So it wouldn't be so much predestination as it would be sort of perfection. So to me, it looks like perfection instead of predestination.
They're probably not exclusive, those two things.
I'm sorry.
They're words.
I mean, they're not exclusive. I mean, I think, the perfection is the
Right.
completion of both sides of this.
But
Because
according
he's
to,
talking, sorry,
okay.
he's talking about this overflowing of states to the servant appears from the servant's side as
Right.
predestination. The perfection you're talking about is when you're looking at it as a single.
Right. But if you do your essence, then you would know what your aptitude was, and you would know what the possibilities are, and that would be predestination, so to speak. Because when you're created with as a certain.
Then you have the thing of the prophet.
But it's not,
Right,
it's not a fixed thing. Predestination is not a fixed thing.
No, but our essence is fixed. Each individual's essence is fixed. I think that's what it says, what it implies. Am I wrong?
Is it fixed or is it unique?
Because it says here, when God discloses the states of, this is the servant of his established essence, according to which the forming of existence occurs, that is the state he should have revealed to you, and disclosing and revealed to these established essences in the state of their non-existence. So that is like that thing we used to say, well, there's all the possibilities, but everything comes into existence. I mean, everything is in existence just because it doesn't. Just because we're in time, we perceive it in time, so to speak. If we're in time, I mean, I know there are states where you're not in time, but if we're perceiving whatever we're perceiving, I lost it.
Let's.
I had it for a second.
Pretzel.
I think we should. Because it's getting late, and I think we should reread this as homework the next
Yes.
time, and we'll start with that again, and hopefully we'll all have.
And I have to write numbers on these pages.
We'll have some more profound insights. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I mean, this.
It remains a mystery.
It is. It's not called a mystery for nothing. It's not like a whodunit where you're going to find out the answer.
No. Oh. Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu as-samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Al-Khatam. O thou who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, Lord of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness, teach us thy loving forgiveness, raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us, send us the peace of thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with you. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh.